What's up, guys? We are live. So we got someone that quite a few of you guys wanted. I actually learned about his channel when I saw the request, but he is on point fresh. So yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting discussion. So on point, do you want to give a little quick introduction about who you are and what you do?
Right. So I started YouTubing about 6 months ago. And my channel just saw explosive growth. So we're at 340,000 subscribers now. And
Damn, I
around,
didn't know you started half a year ago. That is insane.
yeah. And I basically make content that's about aesthetics, fashion, just self improvement in general. But I feel like I've put enough of a spin on it that it's kind of spawned its own genre on YouTube that's different from a lot of other self improvement channels.
What makes it different than like men's maxing or other like black pill looks maxing channels?
So I specifically don't moralize or add any kind of advice that would or any kind of content that would be red pill, blue pill, purple pill, black pill. It's straight up just if you want to look good or if I have some kind of advice, I give it to you very straightforward,
Uh-huh.
in point form and in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, that actually sounds pretty similar to my channel as well. Only we focus on slightly different things.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's interesting. So, how do you think you grew so fast? I mean, that dude, the kind of growth you're describing is insane growth. Just for the record, it took me like fucking 5 years to get to where I'm at, and I'm only at 130. So,
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of things. So I'm not like a YouTuber. I'm I was a software developer and I did digital marketing for many, many years. So before doing YouTube, I had a ton of successful websites and other social media platforms in different niches, right? So self-improvement is just something I'm kind of doing as a hobby because it's interesting to me. And I think because of my background in marketing and I just had a really good pulse on the market when it comes to self improvement. If you know, one of the niches that I specifically focused on was channels like, I don't know if you've heard of them, Alpha M
yeah.
and Teaching Men's Fashion. So, what these
Mhm.
guys, the formula they basically had, and they ran the scene for years, was they would make 8 to 12 minute videos to try and milk as much of the ad revenue as possible. And
Mhm.
then I'd say about 80% of their content was kind of fluff or sponsored. And I just saw a huge gap in the market. And I guess the market agreed. And now our channel grew so big. And there's so many channels that basically mimicked our style, growing exponentially too.
Well, congratulations, man. I mean, that is pretty impressive. What
Thank
do you
you.
think separates you from like the average black pillar? Like, what are some beliefs you have that black pillars don't have, or vice versa?
So I guess the core of my belief is that um, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you're more confident. And just in general, that's a good thing to have in life. And that's going to help you out. I don't make any promises. I'm not going to say you should do this and that and you'll get 10 girls or you'll get a girlfriend or something like that. What our core belief basically stems from is, well, you know how they say there's a wage gap.
Mhm.
I think there's an aesthetics gap between men and women. I think most guys are just now starting to take more care of themselves, thanks to especially Gen Z because of TikTok and stuff like that. Looks are more important than ever as a guy. I think for the first time, studies show that like body dysmorphia in men is finally catching up to the percentages that women have it. Um, so looks are super important nowadays. And if you want to get advice that is straightforward, doesn't try and red pill you or black pill you, I think my channel fits that market really well. And I think that's what makes me different.
Okay. Like, what would you say? Like, there's two things basically. There's game, and then there's looks or sexual market value. What percentage do you think is each? What percentage of your success with women is your looks, and what percentage of it is your game? And by game, I don't mean just the things you say. I mean your confidence, your charisma, your humor, right? Your ability to escalate, your ability to turn a girl on, building sexual tension, building comfort. So I use game as a very encompassing word for everything that's basically internal, something that's not something that cannot be externally quantified. So where would you kind of put the percentages on each one of those?
Um, I would say 70% looks, 30% game.
Okay. I mean, that's reasonable. That puts you somewhere in between a red pillar and a black pillar, but a true black pillar would be like 95% or 100. I mean, so you could make an argument for that. I mean, I personally think it's closer to 50-50, but 70-30 is like, somewhat reasonable. Okay, so let me move on to this. What are give a massive TLDR version for your channel. What are the big things men can do to improve their value, their looks? Like, let's say, for example, I hire you to be my coach or whatever, and you're like trying to improve my looks. Where would you start?
Okay, first, I'd get a good idea of how old you are, what do you do for a living, and where you live. I think that matters a lot in the direction you'll move.
33, YouTuber, Miami.
Okay, so you want to hit the gym, of course. That's a key. That probably applies to every guy.
Right.
Then you want to have some kind of an aesthetic. It's so hard to say because so much of this is going to be dependent on the kind of women you want to attract.
Big booty Latinas.
Okay, hit the gym, get tattoos, wear some nice clothing. Yeah, basically, and groom yourself. That would be the shortest possible way I could say it.
Okay, so fitness, obviously, a thing that goes without saying. Good grooming, obviously. Fashion, obviously. Tattoos, I think I agree with you on that. These are all pretty standard things. What are some more, for example, I know Men's Maxing talks about meowing, right, to extend your jaw. People talk about doing hair transplants or fucking nose surgeries, even though I think that's very extreme. What are some more not so common sense things you would advocate?
Okay, have you ever used those handsome filters on TikTok or something like Face app?
Have I ever?
Okay, yeah. So those things are kind of a cheat code that tells you what you could do to improve yourself, right? So a lot of what those filters do, for example, is they'll darken up your hair compared to the rest of your skin because contrast as a concept is very attractive. That's why when someone's bald, they instantly grow a beard, right? It's that contrast between having hair, having no hair. If they're just clean shaven, they kind of look like a baby and it doesn't look that good, right?
Right about that, yeah.
So same thing with if you have lighter eyebrows, those filters will instantly darken your eyebrows because it gives more contrast. Just simple things like that. So one thing I would recommend is use those filters and see pinpoint what they change and see if you can do that for yourself in the real world.
Interesting. The real question is how to get there. For example, let me actually pull up a photo of me with one of the filters, and then that'll kind of put things a little bit more in perspective.
All right.
So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay. Let's go to Instagram. Okay. It's always a big booty Latina that pops up. So here's one. Here's one that's been edited. Here's another one that's been edited.
Can you zoom in on the face?
Sure. Yeah. Let's go with this one. This one has been edited. That's a good-looking motherfucker.
Okay, so right away you notice really nice and clear and moisturized skin, right? Do you use anything like tretinoin?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I would start on tretinoin, start with the lowest percentage, like 0.025%.
Wait, real quick, what is tretinoin? It's like a skin cream, or what is that?
So tretinoin is probably one of the only well-studied compounds that's prescribed that actually is basically like a miracle drug for skin, right? Pretty much every woman you'll ask, just ask them, do you have a tretinoin prescription? They'll say yeah. Okay.
Really? So it makes a big difference when it comes to your skin?
It makes a huge difference. You could look up tretinoin before and afters, right? It takes around 3 to 6 months to really start kicking in. And then basically your skin, all the bumps on your skin smooth out. The color on your skin evens out. It removes fine lines. It prevents wrinkles. It's really insane. Most guys have no clue what it is, but most women instantly know what you're saying when you.
I have never heard what it is, but I will totally ask my girlfriend about it. Is there any side effects? Is there any downsides?
Yeah, there's downsides. For the first few months that you use it, you're going to have insanely dry skin. It's basically going to be peeling because what it does is regenerate new skin cells super fast, the turnover rate, and that's what gives you like a nice plump look after a few months. So the first month could be kind of really torturous if you're sensitive. If you have sensitive skin, you're gonna be like peeling. So you're gonna have to use a lot of moisturizer. But pretty much
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, so the first thing, okay, so I'm trying to get to this point. The first thing is take care of my skin with Trenol. What's Trenol? Whatever. What's next?
So it looks like it's really shaped up and darkened your beard and eyebrows, right? So what
Uh,
I would
yeah, I think so.
so what I would definitely do is get some just for men like beard color and put a little bit both in your beard and eyebrows, and it would make it just do it enough where it makes a difference and you notice it, but no one would ever be able to be like, oh, use just for men on your beard, right?
Okay,
So that's a really good tip that you could try. Zoom in here.
I can zoom in some more.
So those two would make a huge difference. Also, it's
Oh,
made your hair darker and fuller. So
yeah.
are you on any kind of hair loss regimen?
Oh, yeah.
Finasteride, microneedling, what?
Yeah, microneedling, minoxidil, GHKCU, starting with topical finasteride, PRP, stem cells. I mean, I've spent like tens and thousands of dollars on my hair.
Why not a transplant?
I'm thinking about it. The reason I haven't done it. There's this weird misconception that exists is that the reason I haven't done it is because like I can't afford or something like that. But that's not the
Mhm.
issue at all. I can totally afford it. The reason I haven't done it is because like right now I have some health issues, chronic health issues, and that
Mhm.
requires me to like go to the sauna like every other day to detox. When I do a transplant, I can't go to the sauna for at least a month. I can't go to the gym for at least a few weeks. So I don't know if my health is at a stable enough point to do a minor surgery like that. But I definitely plan on doing it in the near future.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Um, and yeah, I think those three things would make a huge difference.
Okay, so you said something that I've never heard of, which is this skin trenbolone thing, whatever. Can you give more advice like that, like things that are not common sense, things that people haven't heard of?
Okay, one thing is a lot of guys will start a fitness routine, and
Mhm.
I don't know when this came to be. Maybe I think it was a lot of Reddit and different forums. And the first thing they'll be recommended when starting a fitness routine is these really compound heavy kind of power lifter routines.
Okay.
Um, that it's like bench, squat, deadlift, 3 by 5, 3 days a week, right? If you do that, you're not gonna make much of any gains. Like there's a reason all the guys at the gym are basically doing the, you know, bro splits you see in like fitness magazine, right?
Mhm.
So basically just do really hypertrophic routines and skip the um powerlifter routines for working out.
What rep range are you talking about?
Like 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. Yeah. If you're doing like 3 reps, you're not going to get any muscle building benefits in terms of aesthetics. You might
Yeah.
just Yeah, like there's some guys who are like wicked strong. There's guys who are like 3 times stronger than me, but I look better than them. So yeah, you're right about that. Okay, so yeah, focus more on hypertrophy. Don't focus so much on like 1 rep maxes. What else do you got?
Let's see. So there's different products and stuff. So beta carotene is a supplement. Beta carotene as a compound itself is found in things like carrots and
Yep, I'm familiar.
tomatoes and stuff, right?
Mhm.
So if you take the supplement, you could get a tan that kind of comes from it's like an inner tan glow that
Mm,
actually makes a huge difference. There's been studies,
yeah.
yeah, that makes a big difference, makes your skin look a lot healthier. And it's different because you're not going to burn up and like if you're out in the sun. So a beta carotene supplement around 25,000 IU or UI is something good to add if you take
That,
supplements.
that's interesting. I've never heard of that, but I'm definitely going to look into it. Okay, good tip. What else?
Um, there's something called black castor oil gel. Um, it's like $5 on Amazon. If you
Mhm.
get a bit of those and just put it in your eyebrows, um, it'll shape your eyebrows and make them look thicker and a lot better.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, so my channel is basically like a ton of tips like that.
Okay. Can you give a few more, and then we can move on to the next topic? But I think this is gold because a lot of people, including myself, haven't heard of some of this stuff. Can you give a few more like really solid tips like that?
Yeah, one sec. Let me just look at my videos real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Do your
Okay.
thing.
So another thing is one of the best ways to look better. Okay,
Mhm.
here's a thing a lot of guys mistakenly do when trying to improve their style. Right? They'll like they'll be like, I want to look better, have better clothes, maybe get a new haircut, a new beard style, and then they'll find a picture of a guy that looks nothing like them and try and copy their style, right? They'll
Mhm.
try and do like a Kanye West style when they're like a suburban white kid or like a 35-year-old financial analyst, right? It just
Right.
doesn't work.
Mhm.
So the best way to do it, and this is super underutilized, and it's Pinterest, right? Pinterest is like 95% women, but it's one of the best apps you can use. They have a feature on there where you upload an image and their AI or machine learning, whatever it is super good at finding images that look a lot like that image. So if you upload an image of yourself to Pinterest using the Pinterest app, on the related images, when you scroll down, it'll be guys that more or less look a lot like you in skin tone, maybe in facial features, maybe in certain aspects, but they're like models and things that other people have pinned. So they have a unique style that you can mimic, and it's not going to be awkward because they're going to look a lot more like you.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Now, in terms of fashion, do you have any stores that you recommend? Like for me, the store I've been recommending is cutsclothing.com. It's a website. They're a little pricey. It's $50 a shirt, but I find that their clothes sit really well on the body. Do you have any go-tos that you would recommend?
Yeah, for sure. So everyone's wardrobe should basically start with their body. So you should actually be fit before buying any new clothes. After that, I recommend starting off with really strong basics. So the best stores to get basics from are stores like Uniqlo.
Never heard of
And Uniqlo is basically a Japanese brand, but it sells all over the US and Canada.
it. Okay.
And it's super cheap, but the quality is amazing. And they're very like simple, basic pieces that just look really good.
Okay, and this brand, they have their own store, or you would get on Amazon, or how would you find this these shirts?
So so you should check if they have a brick and mortar store near you or just
Okay,
get it online, uniqlo.com.
okay, okay. What are some other ones?
So Mango is really good. It's just basic, really classic clothing at a really good price.
Never heard of that either.
And everyone probably knows of Zara.
Yeah, Zara, I know. Yeah, that's where I get a
Yeah,
lot. Sure.
Zara is good too, but I highly recommend shopping for Zara online because it has a way more of a selection and way better of a selection. They keep a lot of their good stuff online only.
Okay, good tip, good tip. Okay, so we covered the clothing. Yeah, the only one I would add to this list is cutsclothing.com. If you're on a really tight budget, probably not a good idea. It's like $50 per shirt. But if you got a little bit disposable income, I find that their shirts fit better than any other brand I've ever seen, including Zara. Okay, let's go back to the general tips. So you gave me a few good ones. Let's just do like one or two more solid tips that like are not common sense that people probably don't know about.
Hmm. Common sense. Okay. Another good one is you should, if you sweat a lot, I don't know, I sweat a lot.
Yeah, me
If you
too.
sweat a lot, get Botox. Botox.
Explain that. Well, how does that help?
So I sweat a lot under my underarms, and one of the basically cures, there's really no cure for it, but one of the cures is they'll inject Botox under each arm, and you'll stop sweating under your arms for like a year.
Really? I have
Yeah.
never heard of that. And
Yeah.
is there any side effects with doing that?
No side effects. As long as you're not allergic to Botox, it's completely fine.
So you have them inject Botox under your armpits to prevent sweating.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I have never heard of that. Uh, and so you recommend that for people who sweat a lot?
Oh, 100%. Because if you sweat a lot, you basically can only ever wear black t-shirts.
Black and white. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I
Yeah.
only wear black and white t-shirts when I'm doing like an in-studio podcast because otherwise I've had too many situations where I gave a speech in Orlando and I wore like a gray sweatshirt and like my whole speech was overshadowed by the fact that I was so sweaty. I was like, oh, look at this guy's sweating balls. So yeah,
Get that Botox, man. It really helps.
that's an interesting suggestion. Okay, let's do one last good one. What else do you recommend?
Have a signature scent, like a scent where have a scent first off for every season. Like if you live in a place where there's 4 seasons, have a scent for every season. But if it's just summer and winter where you are, have two strong scents that people will always associate with you, right? Um, I highly recommend Tom Ford colognes because they're expensive, but they last super long, and the scents are really good and unique, and people will always know it's you. And just people love the scents of Tom Ford. So it just the general tip: have your own scent, and Tom Ford's really good.
Okay, what do you think about femoral? What are they called? Like those scents they're supposed to like make women more attracted to you, like pheromones.
Oh, pheromones?
Pheromones. Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems goofy to me.
Okay. You don't find that works, right?
Uh, I highly doubt that works. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I tried it once a while ago. I didn't really notice a substantial difference. So yeah. Okay. Interesting. What do you think about stuff like elevator shoes or like getting bigger boots? So if you're a guy who's like 5'10", getting elevator shoes or getting like boots to make yourself 6'0".
Yeah, I think that's completely fine and fair.
Yeah. What do you think about what was the other one I was gonna say? What do you think about like doing small amounts of steroids? Like, would you recommend that?
Small amount of steroids.
Yeah. Not like bodybuilding doses, but like, a small amount.
Honestly, I don't think so. I would just be too weary of the side effects. For one, like if you're prone to hair loss, even a small amount probably like will trigger your hair loss genetics. I don't think
There's
that's
ways
anyone.
around there's ways around that, but generally speaking, you're right.
And then most people, I don't know if this is for small amounts too, but a lot of people that I see that start taking steroids, they'll be like 20 but look like they're 45 after a cycle. Just their skin looks leathery and it has that weird red look to it.
Yeah, that can
Uh,
happen.
just for a bit of more muscle, I don't think so. And muscle's kind of overrated anyway, um, past a certain amount.
Yeah, past a certain amount. But I think a lot, like I do small amounts of DECA and a small amount of TRT. Yeah, I've been able to avoid every single side effect, but that's again because I do a very small therapeutic dose. It's doctor supervised. I don't buy from a random person. I get from a pharmacy, and because there's supplements I take to counterbalance the negative effects, so that it doesn't increase my hair loss. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not recommending that for everyone. Just like
Yeah.
if you already have low testosterone, then you could look into something like that. But definitely not saying that like people should do this just willy nilly. Obviously, it's a medical decision that you should talk to a doctor about. Talk to multiple doctors about before you make that. So just want to clarify that. Okay, I mean, I think we covered a lot of the looks maxing stuff. I'm trying to think if there's any looks. Oh, what do you think about? Okay, two more questions. What do you think about doing like neck exercises to thicken your neck?
Yeah, I think that's really good. Because yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen those edited images where it's showing one guy with a really thin neck and it's all else the same, but then they thicken up his neck and it just has a completely different vibe to a person. You just look more masculine and aggressive. It just looks a lot better too. Definitely.
Have you ever tried that doing neck exercises?
I'm gonna be honest. No, I have a pretty thick neck already,
Okay.
so I don't think so. But I've seen um, those old crazy clips of Mike Tyson doing like the neck rolls on the floor.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I've ever seen someone do neck exercises at the gym, so I don't know how common they are.
I've
And
seen it once. Yeah, it's not common. It's not common at all, but I've seen it once. And this dude like fucking had like a 45 plate on his head, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna die. Please don't kill
yeah,
yourself in front of me. Like,
yeah, and they wear. Oh, I've seen that once before, and they wear that like weird contraption that kind of looks like a sex toy. I don't
I know
know.
what you're talking about. You're talking about, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Joe Rogan talks about that a lot. Iron
Yeah,
neck. It's called iron neck. But listen, iron neck, like it's kind of funny. It looks funny, but it's actually really good for certain things. Like if you train in jujitsu or fighting, that's gonna really lower your chance of an injury. If you want to just have a thicker neck or you want to build up just some functional strength there, which is important, if anything happens, that stuff is pretty good and it's pretty safe. But yeah, it looks like super goofy.
yeah, it looks super goofy, and I've also seen like people biting a towel with like a weight on the other side, something like that. But yeah, as far as that though, I've never done them, and I've never really looked into them. But if you have a thin pencil neck, yeah, I'll definitely look into it.
And so, what do you think about? I forget what it's called, mewing or meowing. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Mewing, they say, is an orthopedic, I think it's called, exercise, which is supposed to, get rid of your double chin and put your chin like kind of forward and have it more, look nicer and have a
Oh, I
nice
thought
profile.
it makes your jaw thicker. I thought that's what was the point.
No, it doesn't make your jaw thicker. It kind of like moves the jaw forward a bit. So
Okay.
if people with like recessed chins and not the best side profiles, it's supposed to help them with that. The Dr. Mio itself, the guy that came up with it, kind of got ousted from the community of doctors that do
Oh,
that sort of thing. So a lot of people say it's just quack science.
mm,
I don't know the actual literature on it. A lot of people in the self-improvement communities swear by it, it seems like. I've seen a lot
mhm.
of before and afters on TikTok and YouTube. I don't know if it works. I've never done it. I've tried it before, and I could only like, because you have to do it for
For a
like
while, yeah.
a really long time, like year or two. And yeah, I could do it for like 3 days before being like, forgetting about it or being like, fuck this.
Yeah. What do you think about like the more extreme things that recommend in the black belt, like height increasing surgery, facial reconstruction, nose jobs? Like, what are your thoughts about that?
So I think that there's a wide spectrum. Height height increasing surgery, I don't think that just seems completely retarded to me, because you're just net, even if you gain a few inches of height, um, you can't do sports ever.
Yeah, you
Um,
totally fuck up your knees. Yeah,
yeah, it just fucks you up.
I agree. Yeah,
Um, Facial reconstruction surgery, I don't even know really what that entails.
I'm just talking about like, for example, like a nose job or something like that. Anything that moves your face, with the exception of
Oh
hair.
yeah, I think that's completely fine. Like, you could literally switch up your looks and go from like a 5 to an 8 with a nose job. It depends what's wrong with you, and it depends how objective you're being, and you're not just being led by some extreme body dysmorphia where you're trying to, you've been looking at black pill content for years and think your nose is off by a millimeter. But like, if you have a big hump on your nose and you got teased for it always, and you just want to get it changed and you think you'd be more attractive with it, yeah, go ahead. Um,
Yeah, I'm personally, I mean, I don't think anyone should be shamed or stigmatized, but I personally would never recommend that unless you have like a massive deformity, like unless you were an accident or you're just naturally born with deformity. Unless it's like a drastic deformity, I probably wouldn't fuck with the plastic surgery. There's just so many side effects that people are not aware of. I had to get a nose job when I was 16 because I broke my nose. You can see it's still crooked in a little accident that happened. My nose was like, and I got a nose job. And what they didn't tell me is I was gonna have to go through a year and a half of breathing problems. You know how like when you're sick you can't breathe? You know how like annoying
yeah,
that is? Imagine
yeah.
going through that every single day for a year. Fucking almost drove me crazy. So I'm always saying don't do this stuff willy-nilly.
I guess I kind of come from a more liberal. So I'm Persian, and it's kind of like a rite of passage for Persian teenagers to get some kind of plastic surgery.
I know,
Like,
yeah, that's common with your guys. Yeah.
yeah, so it's a lot like South Koreans are the same thing. So pretty much, um, all my female relatives and a lot of women I know just have always gone plastic surgery, and it's not really a big deal to us. So if you don't like something about yourself, you could change it, but it really depends how you got to that stage. Um, if you did it after like consuming doomer content for so long, and it's not going to be the only thing, right? You get your nose done, next thing you know, you think you need to get your chin done, and then um, so
Plastic surgery can become an addiction. There's a lot of
exactly.
just like drugs.
Exactly. So in that aspect, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. But I think it's so commonplace now. I don't think it's that terrible, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible. I think it's just unnecessary for most people. Like I know a guy who's like 5'10" and a half, 5'11". He got the height surgery. Now he's like 6'2". I'm like,
Oh Jesus.
dude, you're already above average height, and you didn't approach girls now. You don't approach girls back then. So you're not talking to girls. You're not getting more results. So you're just looking at yourself in the mirror and you're just a little taller. I don't know. It's not really worth it for me. Uh, but
Yeah, it's weird. Definitely a lot of the insecurity, especially for height and for a lot of looks maxing stuff, is funny. It comes from people most likely to be in the average spectrum. Like people that are average height for some reason have probably the most insecurity with their height. It seems like, because
yeah,
they
you might be
know.
right. You might be right about that. I've never had a situation where I saw a guy who was 5'4" who was like talking about height increasing surgery. It's always guys who are like 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, because they know they're just. I think it's just common as guys. We don't really like to be excluded from being potential dating partners. That's why when a girl's like, "Oh, I only date Asian guys," you kind of feel some way about it because you just don't like it being excluded. And people that are like 5'9" or 5'10", they're excluded from that like 6 foot mark, and they just know if they could hit that, their dating pool will just open up like a beaver dam. That's what's going on in their mind, I think, because they're so
Yeah.
close to
But
it.
the problem is it like often doesn't work out that way. Like those guys are struggling before and they're struggling now.
Exactly. Yeah. That nothing's gonna change.
So yeah, that's a problem. And then they think they have to do more plastic surgery. It's just like chasing a high. And then you're just like doing it's like at some point you look like fucking Kim Kardashian's asshole. It's like what the fuck happened? Okay, so I think we covered a lot of really good looks matching stuff. Some
Yeah.
of it I've honestly never heard of before. I'm definitely gonna look into the skin stuff you recommended, beta caterone. So I think we have a lot of good tips. So let's move on to the second part of the show, is where we have a little, I guess, debate or discussion about certain things that we might disagree on. So
Sure.
I've heard you say on your channel that you're not advocate of cold approach unless the girl gives you like a lot of choosing signals. Why is that?
Um. Honestly, I think it's just due to my personal experience and my personality. Um.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So I've never cold approached ever. Um. And I've always kind of had girls come to me first. And my personality, I'm more of a like an introverted type, and I've only ever liked going after someone when there's clear, explicit signs that they're like, open to my reception to me. And I feel like if you're gonna do something like cold approach, the percentage, you could be like a very good looking guy. I feel like the percentage of it working out, even if you get a number, get past that hurdle, even if you set up a date, actually going on the date after a cold approach, and then being even receptive to you in the first place, I feel like it's a fraction of a percent that just seems like a waste of time.
Well, what do you like? Okay, I approach or whatever. The average, I approach 10 girls, or I approach 100 girls. What percentage do you think I'll wind up having sex with?
On a cold approach,
Yeah, cold approaches.
I'd say 0 to 5. No, 0 to 3.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not as bad as that. I would say it'd be probably around 10%, something along the lines of that. It definitely wouldn't be. You're definitely not going to get every girl. You're not even going to get every other girl. But yeah, you approach 10 girls, you'll get 2 or 3 phone numbers. Out of those 2, 3 phone numbers, you'll probably get one date, and if you have a good game, you'll probably close on the date. So something along the lines of that. It's definitely higher than 0 to 3%. Would you? But you mentioned that this is like part of your person, like it's just your personality, like you're a little bit more
Yeah.
introvert. Would you then say for someone who's not as introverted as you that cold approach is okay? Like, are you only against cold
Oh
approach?
yeah, I've always mentioned this where I said unless you're the extroverted type that has the kind of charisma you need to approach a random stranger and have them feel warm enough to you within a few minutes that you could make it something more. I think that's completely fine for you to do. Yeah, you should always play to your strengths. What I don't like is a lot of the, for example, if you're a more introverted type, I think
Mm.
there's way better methods to go about dating than cold approaching.
Yeah, like which methods do you mean?
I think for introverts, dating apps, social media, and things like that are way better. Yeah, by a ton.
Here's the issue. There's two issues with that, right? And by the way, I'm a big fan of dating apps too. But if you're a guy, first of all, dating apps tend to reward looks more. So if you're a good looking guy, yeah, whatever, you don't need cold approach. But if you're like an average to below average looking guy, dating apps are going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. You can probably do it eventually, but it's going to be a struggle. The second thing is that it doesn't force you to get out of your comfort zone and develop your personality. So like for me, it's pretty easy. If a girl comes to my house, I'm charismatic. I'm confident I can build sexual tension, right? But the only reason I'm like that is because I developed that skill through years of cold approach. But I've had clients who set up a date, the girl comes straight to their place, and like nothing happens because they're like awkward, they can't build sexual tension, they can't escalate properly. And what I like about cold approach, I think cold approach has over online dating apps, it really forces you to level up. It really forces you to become more charismatic, more confident, more socially savvy. It really forces you to develop those things, which I feel like online dating apps don't do nearly to that extent.
Um, so cold approach, isn't that basically just going up to a woman and probably like in the first 3 to 5 minutes try and get her number?
No, there's no set time on when you have to get her number. Cold approach can be 30 minutes, it can be an hour, it can be 1 minute. There's no set time.
But like if you're out there approaching 100 women, how long do you think each approach is lasting?
Really depends on your style. For me personally, it will probably be between 3 and 5 minutes. I keep it short and sweet, but I have friends who are into pickup. For them, it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. They really like to take their time with each girl. But yeah, I mean, my goal would never be to approach 100 girls. My goal would be to go out and get a few phone numbers, right, and get some dates set up. It's never like, oh, you have to approach 100 girls. It's more of like, okay, let me see. I have an hour. Let me see what I can do during that hour.
Okay, so I'm a really straightforward guy. So if I was to go cold approaching, the thing I would say is I would go up to someone and be like, "Hey, I think you're really cute. If you want to have a date sometime, like give me your number or something like that, right?" Um, do you think that would fare well?
It could definitely work. I mean, we did a interesting experiment where we literally did just that, where we went up to girls and it literally off the opener we said, "Hey, you're really cute. Do you want to go on a date with me?" Right? Like we tried that.
Okay. And do you think that one sentence, saying it in person instead of saying it on a dating app, makes that much difference to your charisma and character and stuff like that?
Well, let me expand on that. Right. So once you say that sentence, let me kind of explain how the experiment went. We actually did a two-part experiment. One of them was like a chat that did it, said the same thing, and one of it was me. And I'm like, I would consider myself a normie. So the chat was like, I think had a 35-40% success rate with doing that. I had something like a 20-25% success rate, right?
Wait,
Still,
at 35% success rate of getting
when
a
I,
number?
yeah, getting a number, not like actually fucking the girl. Getting
Okay.
that was the chat. And I was at like 20-25%.
Okay.
Um, but it's typically like you say that opener, it's not like the girl's like, oh, here you go. Typically she's gonna be like, what's your name? What do you do? Right? She's gonna want a little bit more comfort. So you're gonna have to chat with her. Also, just through the act of like, even if she just straight up gives you a number, through the act of like actually going up to a girl, like you get to practice your body language, you get to practice your vibe, your confidence, your tonality, all things that you don't actually get to practice on dating app. And I would say the last thing, potentially the most important thing, is that when it comes to cold approach, you have access to a whole bunch of girls that are not on dating apps. Certain girls who are just either have never been or are currently not on a dating app, and you have access. Like if you're talking to a girl on a dating app, especially a hot girl, there's hundreds of other guys hitting her up. And again, if you have good game, good profile, you can still get her, right? But if you're doing like cold approach, like that day, maybe 2 or 3 guys talk to her, right? So there's a lot less competition if you can do it well.
So I guess on a dating app, I think the fact that there's 100 guys talking to her, I actually think that's a positive. And if
Why do
she
you say
pick,
that?
so if she pre-selects you over all those guys, I think the chance of something working out for you or striking that first date is so much higher.
Well, what I mean, like when I say she's talking to 100 guys, I don't mean she's just what I mean. She like actually matched with 100 guys, so she has 100 matches that she's actively talking to you. She's talking to you, she's talking to this guy, and she's talking to 100 other people. So at that point, there's really not pre-selection. It's just like you're part. I mean, there's a little bit of pre-selection, but you're talking. It's like you're interviewing for a job, and there's 100 other people there. Like you could get the job, but it's not going to be as likely.
Yeah, but I mean, if I get picked over 100 guys, if one
I
girl
don't know.
picks
So
me,
maybe I'm miscommunicating. I'm not saying get picked over 100 guys. I'm saying you get picked and another 100 guys get picked, right? So
right, right.
the girl's never going to be matching with just you. She's going to match with you and 100 other dudes. So
Okay, yeah. So if a
competing.
girl's talking to 100 different matches, and I'm one of those matches,
Uh-huh.
and I end up getting the date with her,
Mm.
I really like that.
Yeah, no, that is good. The problem is that your chance, if you're competing with 100 other guys, is not that high. Which is why with online dating, the biggest savior for online dating is volume, right? So with each individual girl who's talking to 100 guys, like even if you have really good profile and really good game, you're still at like 10% or something like that success rate if you're doing everything right. But if you're talking to 20 girls, well, that's 2 dates right there, right? So you're going to compensate for it with volume, right? But with each girl on a dating app, your odds are fairly small, right? Because of the insane amounts of competition.
Well, if I'm looking for a serious relationship with a girl I really like, and we start off on the footing that um, she's on an app, and there's pretty much every guy is trying to talk to her, match with her, and she picks me. I just think that's so good, and that starts off the relationship on such a good footing.
How would that be different than if you met a girl in real life and you talked to her and she really liked you and she gave you her number? Like, how would I don't see like the
I
girl.
think. Well, I think I'm more married to the process than the outcome. The process of going outside, it, approaching a girl, and even if the all the false positive, because you will get a lot of fake numbers.
Sure, just
Um,
same thing with any platform, but yeah.
yeah, I guess like let's dating is a lot like marketing and being a salesman, right? Would
Mhm.
you rather have cold leads or hot leads? I would definitely
Hot
rather
leads.
have hot leads,
Yeah.
and I think that's what basically dating apps provide.
I don't really consider those hot leads. I consider hot leads like something like social circle. Like those I would consider hot leads. Um, I think that they're a little bit warmer than cold approach, right? Because she matched with you. Well, it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about just DMing a girl on Instagram, right? That's a very cold lead. That's just as
Mm.
cold approach, if not more cold, right? But if we're talking about like a dating app, the girl matched with you, right? That's a little bit warmer, but I wouldn't consider that a hot lead again because with like for example for you, okay, what percent like let's say you match with 100 girls, how many of those do you think you'll sleep with realistically?
Um, Honestly, I'm not the type that sleeps around. I just want one girl and I keep with her. So I wouldn't be sleeping around.
Well, let's assume that you were. Like,
If
what do
I
you?
like, if I was just a complete man slut and I wanted to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sleep with anyone that comes my way, I don't know. I feel like it'd be way too easy on dating apps.
Well, it is easy, right? If you're getting a lot of matches, but in reality, like even me with a really solid profile, really good texting, if I match with 100 girls, I'll probably sleep with 5 or 10 of them. Which is still a lot of girls, right? If I'm matching like 100 girls every
Yeah,
three
I
days,
think the average person has like 9 partners in their lifetime.
right? But so the point is that your odds with each individual girl is low. So if you're in a situation where you're not getting a lot of matches on a dating app, you're pretty much fucked. You need to have the volume coming in because again, it's the odds with each individual girl is on the lower side. I would say that your odds. So if I had to like, okay, if you give me a hypothetical, number one is I match with 10 girls. Number two is I cold approach 10 girls. Who am I going to be more likely to sleep with? I would say that slightly the cold approach might have an advantage or it breaks even. Because there is one advantage to cold approach, I mean, to dating apps, and that's the fact that she's already basically signed a social contract saying that she likes you and she was open talking to you, more or less. Versus with cold approach, you don't have any of that. Like you're a stranger in her life. But when it comes to cold approach, you have a lot less competition, which is good. And you're also able to catch the girls who are not on dating apps, who don't have as many options as a girl on dating app, right? A girl who's on a dating app will always have way more options than a girl who's just not on
Yeah, but
dating.
I like that. I like that they have a ton of options and still pick you.
Okay. I mean, yeah, like, I mean, I guess there comes down to an element of preference, if you prefer that. I mean, I think that's totally fine. It would be really interesting, though, if you didn't experiment and try cold approach one day and just kind of document your results.
Yeah, I think my girlfriend would literally kill me.
Oh, you're in a relationship?
Yeah,
Did you meet your girlfriend on a dating app?
I did.
Cool. Which app?
Hinge.
Oh, okay. I met my girlfriend on Bumble.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, dating
Uh,
apps are dope, see?
yeah, but the girl before that I met at a bar. The girl before that I met on Tinder. The girl before that I met at a bar. So I've had five. I'm going on my fifth relationship. Three of those girls I met at a bar, cold approach, and two of them I met on a dating app. They both work.
Okay. Yeah, I that's like if that's your style, I 100% think it's the way you should go if you're more like an extroverted and charismatic type of person or want to build on those skills and prefer to be that way. Definitely do cold approach.
I mean, I do like if I'm just being like dead honest. I do think cold approach has like definitely made me a more charismatic, more confident person. Like if you saw me, I mean, you can even go back to my videos from 2017. I mean, I look kind of nervous, uncomfortable. But if you go back to like my stuff from like 2012, when I first started like talking to girls. I mean, dude, I was awkward as fuck. I had no confidence. I had no charisma. I didn't really understand social situations, social cues. And I think like a huge part of what changed that is the fact that I relentlessly did cold approach after cold approach and kept learning from my mistakes. But yeah, I understand it's not for everyone. You know, there's no requirement that everyone has to do cold approach. How long were you I guess how long were you hanging out with your girl for before you started dating?
Oof, probably. Well, what do you mean by dating? When we made it official, where we're girlfriend?
You made it official.
Probably a month or two.
Oh damn, bro, that's pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, when it feels right, it feels right.
For me, it was like 2.5 years.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah, that's a little long. I agree with you. But yeah, for us it took a while. And then how long have you guys been together for now?
We're going on 4 months.
Okay, cool. Nice. But yeah, man. Okay, so let's get into this. So I think we have 15 more minutes. What is your definition of a high value man?
I think it's dependent on so many different things.
Just like the way you see it. I'll give you my definition right afterwards.
Okay, so financially competent,
Okay.
aesthetic in some sort of way. You don't have to be a model, but if you take care of yourself, I'd say socially savvy. And I'd say that's pretty much the ground floor. I'd say that's would be a common factor. No matter what your definition of high value man is, you'd probably have those three things.
Okay. Whether it's I know I see a lot of shit talking in the chat. So as soon as we're done with this podcast, I'm gonna challenge all you motherfuckers to either debate me or shut the fuck up. Okay. So yeah, I mean, my definition. I mean, you're not off. You know, you're not significantly off. I actually like the definition Rollo gave after he was pushed on it, and then when he like fucking had time to like I don't know text his friends. But the one he gave is it's a guy that men want to emulate and women want to fuck. I think that's a pretty solid definition. And what goes into that? Well, you know, confidence, social skills go into that. Looks goes into that. I think money to some extent goes into it. Status definitely goes into it. Your social circle goes into it, right? So there's many things that affect your value. And for some girls, something like money may be a big deal, and for other girls, it might not be a big deal at all, right? So it varies. There's no like universal thing, but you can get like a nice range. You know, okay, like this is where.
So let me ask you this: would you consider, let's say Elon Musk has a son and the son's like 25, right? But he's a complete deadbeat. Would you consider him a high value man?
No, probably not. So also, I just want to clarify: it's not like black or white. Like you're either not high value man, you're high value man. It's like degrees. But no, I don't think he would meet the threshold for.
But I feel like a lot of women would want Elon Musk's son, right?
Sure, but they want to date him for okay. So I should have clarified a little bit more. So that women have a genuine desire to be with, right? So the girls would be with him just for the potential of getting his dad's money, not because they're attracted to him.
But what if that desire for his dad's money is genuine?
Right. The desire is definitely genuine for the dad's money, but then the desire for the guy is not.
So it has to be desire for the guy specifically, like physically, or
no, not physically, just in general. That could be because the guy's really funny. That could be because she's very physically attractive. That could be because of status. But where the girl's actually attracted to the guy and not something external.
Wait, but wouldn't his status as Elon Musk's son be him too?
I think it would give him a little bit of a status boost for sure. I don't know if it would be significant though. Like if you're because I'm assuming.
Think so? Elon Musk's son, I think women would want him and guys.
Well, the way you quantified, you said he would be like a loser. So I'm assuming there would be a lot of negative articles about him in the media. You know, like a lot of people would be talking about how he's a fuck up. So there'd be a lot of negative attention, right?
Well, do you know someone like Sam Hyde who has a ton of negative attention on him?
I've heard that name, but I'm not too familiar.
Well, I feel like negative attention sometimes is just as good as, positive attention.
Oh, I disagree with that so much.
Okay.
This is a common thing that people say. I think that a little bit of negative attention is okay, but when you have too much negative attention, it's not a good thing. You get canceled. You get people fucking writing hit pieces on you. You burn all your bridges. I mean, like Andrew Tate got a lot of negative attention. Where did that lead? Well, for him to get kicked off every single platform, to wind up in Romanian jail, right? So like negative attention it has to be in moderation. It can't be overwhelming. I got some.
Have you ever had negative attention on
Yeah,
you?
Vice did a hit piece on me in 2017.
Really?
A lot of negative attention. You know what happened? I got banned from Facebook, right? Basically lost my livelihood at that point. So
Okay.
yeah, it's just especially in the world we live in now, negative attention isn't good. I mean, right now, that guy Modern Life Dating, you know who he is?
No idea.
He's like, I don't know, whatever, like a red pillar. He had a really, really embarrassing podcast appearance where he basically got like really butthurt and he like rage quit. It was like a really, really bad look. He got just called out really hard by these several girls. And there's a lot of attention around him right now. Like a lot. People are talking about it, but it's all negative. None of those people that are talking about him are actually subscribing to his channel or viewing his videos. They're just watching the reactions to make fun of him, right? So I've had like big YouTubers make positive videos about me. I've had big YouTubers make negative videos about me. When there's a negative video, I get like 20 new subscribers. When there's a positive video, I can get like 1,000 new subscribers, right? So the context of the attention really matters, in my opinion.
Okay. And do you do YouTube full time?
Yeah, well, I mean, YouTube is part of what I do, but I do sex and dating coaching full time. Yes.
Okay, and you're in Miami, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so you must be doing well because it looks like you have a pretty nice apartment.
Yeah, man, I do pretty well. I'm not like a millionaire, but yeah, I do well.
Okay, that's good. So the canceling didn't like have a long-term effect?
No, because I moved to YouTube and TikTok and created my own website. So, but I've the only place I've ever been canceled from is Facebook. I mean, if I got canceled from YouTube, I don't know if I would be all right. It's just like at that point I was able to transition, but we did take like definitely a big temporary loss, and I'm just lucky that I like if I ever need a place to stay, I can stay with my parents. If I ever need to borrow money,
Mm-hmm.
so I come from like a pretty good background. So I didn't feel extra stressed to like get a regular job because I knew it would be okay. So there's definitely advantages. But yeah, man, I mean, like I had Tinder threatening to sue me. I had
Oh, wow.
yeah. I was on the phone with their lawyers for a while. I had another company doing DMCA takedowns on my website. So my website kept going down. I had to move my hosting to a different country. I mean, it was just I had Stripe refusing to process any more payments and not giving me the client's payment information so I could transfer it. So I lost like $40,000 on that. I mean, dude, when I launched the business, I had setback after setback.
Okay, yeah, that's insane. So dating coaching and stuff like that's your main thing, and there's the YouTube kind of acts like a funnel for that.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I'm building a app right now, an AI app. So that's going to probably become my main thing in the next 3-4 months. But yeah, as of now, this is my main thing.
AI app, is it going to be related to dating?
Yeah. So the way it's going to work is that it's going to be like use the same platform as ChatGPT, but it's going to be programmed differently. So basically, you upload a conversation out with a girl and tells you what to say next.
Okay, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I'll definitely send you the beta version once we have it finished.
All right, awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah. What are you working on right now?
So I probably run, I could count on around two hands how much YouTube channels I run and multiple websites. I basically have a whole media company, and
Interesting.
this channel is just one of our channels. And yeah, I got your email and I've watched you before with Destiny. So I was like, I'm probably never going to do another podcast or anything like this, but I thought this would be fun to do.
I feel honored. Take your podcast virginity. That's interesting. You have multiple channels. Do you do like coaching for like YouTubers who want to grow their channel?
Yeah, I actually have one channel that focuses on growing channels. It's called On Point Viral.
Dude, I might take you up on that. Like, as long as
Yeah,
$20 million.
the thing right now is I'm just posting videos on what I do to grow channels right now. And I am building a course and building an email list, but that probably won't be out for probably 6 months.
Well, what I ideally would like to do is just to book like half an hour with you where we just like you customly go through my shit and I'll pay you whatever it costs and then you give me feedback, personal recommendations based on what you see.
Like a consultation. Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. We'll definitely talk about that offline. I mean, your growth was insane. I mean, that is 400,000 in fucking 6 months. I thought you had the channel for a long time. Uh, but 6 months, dude, that's insane. You're
Yeah, yeah,
definitely doing something right if that's the case. So
yeah. Thank you.
you're just gonna be primarily focused on YouTube channels, or is there any other projects you have in the works?
No, actually, websites make me more money than YouTube channels. That's my primary focus. YouTube's just something I'm doing for fun and growing for fun.
What kind of websites are we talking about?
So I make niche and affiliate websites. Like they're in all different. Like they could be fitness websites. They could be. Um, so my company just handles all these different kinds of websites. We don't have a specific thing we focus on.
And if you don't mind me asking, why do you stay anonymous on YouTube?
I'm not trying to be a YouTuber, and there's a wave of something called faceless channels, especially for a self improvement channel. I think it works really well to stay faceless because if I show myself and I'm really good looking, people will hand wave the advices. You got good genetics. You hit the lottery with your genetics or whatever. If I reveal myself and I'm ugly, they can be like, "Why is this guy giving self improvement advice when he's ugly as fuck?" Right?
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
yeah, so it allows me to reach a mass audience, and I think that's a part of the growth.
So you really think that actually not showing your face not only did not hurt you, it actually helped you?
Oh, hugely,
That's
hugely.
really interesting because intuitively I would think it would be the opposite.
Yeah, and it helps a lot too because once you, let's say your brand, playing with fire, it's very much connected to you. If one day you wanted to retire and sell the whole thing,
Yes.
it's kind of hard. It's but me, I have multiple offers in 6 to 7 figures to sell my whole brand. Right? We have a website, we have the
Mhm.
YouTube channel, and all they would need to do is literally find someone else for the voice, and that's it. It has
Mhm.
nothing connected to me. So it's like selling Coca-Cola will always be more profitable than, selling Jake Paul.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, man. You seem to be pretty business like savvy. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't give out my exact age, but I'm between late 20s, early 30s.
Okay, all right. You're similar age as me. Uh, how like do you have any like entrepreneurship tips? Because I think a lot of people watching this probably want to start their own business. Obviously, it's easier said than done. But is there any like big things that that you feel like helped you that are not really that common sense?
Ah, that's so hard. I started making websites and selling websites when I was around 15. So I've been doing it so long. And one thing I would say is learn to program. It's not super hard, especially with ChatGPT and stuff.
Mm,
Um, or learn to edit videos or learn to make thumbnails. Like think of all the things a YouTube video needs: a voiceover, a thumbnail, editing. Learn one of those skills, get good enough with it to where you could sell your services on Fiverr or Upwork and stuff. Once you have a steady handful of clients, start hiring freelancers to do the job you were doing for those and expand your team to like 5 freelancers that you train yourself. And then you basically have a little agency, and from there you could start making your own channels. You could start making your own websites, whatever you go into. So I'd say start doing the gritty work first for whatever field you want to go into. Once you learn it, um, do some freelancing. Once you have a client base, hire freelancers and train them to do the work you would be doing for your clients.
Yeah, I guess I would give these three pieces of advice. Then you could tell me whether you agree or disagree with them before we wrap up. I think the first piece of advice I would give is never forget the value proposition. I see a lot of channels, they get so caught up in the marketing that like the video's about nothing. And it's like focus always on the value, always the value. That's the main thing. And then you can build on that and do a little marketing or a little this, a little of that. But the focus should not be fancy editing. It should not be, like some upsell. The focus should be the value, like the thing people are clicking on. You have to deliver value. If you consistently don't deliver value, people will lose interest and not support you. I think the second thing I would say is be consistent. Consistent is important. I've had many friends who are YouTubers who took a 6 month, 8 month hiatus and they never ever get back to where they were ever. They don't even come close. So you have to be consistent. You can't look. You can take a day off. You can maybe even take a week off, but you can't take a month off with this shit. You have to you have to be consistent. You have to push through the pain. If you're going through a hard time. I would say number three is focus on your strengths and outsource your weaknesses. So like me, I'm really bad at technical things. I'm really bad at like finance and accounting, right? And if I try to do all the technical stuff for my business, then I would never have time to do anything because I'm so bad at it. So find someone who's really good at the thing you're weak at and just focus on the things you're good at. I think that's like, at least for me, that's always worked best. And I think number four is think with your head, not with your feelings, right? It's very easy sometimes to make emotional decisions in business. I've had many situations where, I've come close. Like I remember when Seeking was threatening to sue me, right? They're basically trying to bully me and silence me. And dude, like on an emotional level, I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, fuck you guys. But logically, I'm like, well, this is gonna cost me $50,000, $100,000. I'm gonna drain through my whole business fund. No, I'm just going to do the logical. So yeah, those would be like probably the four tips I would give. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have one important thought. I think one of the most important rules of especially online business is don't be retarded. And what I mean by that is there's something I call the eye, right? Since I started doing YouTube, you get your little YouTube plaque and your friends see it and they're like, oh shit, you're doing YouTube?
Yeah.
Teach me how to do it and stuff, right? Like pretty much dozens of people ask me. And I'm pretty open. I'll teach you everything I know. And all my friends that I taught, I could instantly tell within like 10 minutes of them putting together a video or choosing a font for a thumbnail, if they have like the eye for being a YouTuber, right? It's very easy to tell within your first one or two videos if you're going to be successful at it.
Do you
And I
think I have the eye for being a YouTuber? And you can be brutally honest. You won't hurt my feelings.
I haven't thoroughly looked at your channel.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, the eye is kind of like when someone says that guy has a real eye for fashion. Like some people are just innately know how to put together an outfit, right? And I think YouTubing works a lot of the same way. And I don't think it's just about creativity because if it was, then the best YouTubers would be like the
Yeah.
graphics artist or
Yeah.
the
No,
editors, right? It's
you're
kind
right.
of how you put it all together, and that requires having a good eye.
Yeah.
And if you're not being successful within your first few months, and by successful, I mean, even if you get like 1,000 videos on one YouTube video, that puts you like in the top 10% of people on YouTube that have ever posted a video, right? If you're not seeing some semblance of success within your first few months of doing something like that, I would just give up.
Oh, I would fundamentally disagree with the last thing you said. I was like nodding along, but the last thing, I didn't see success until at least a year in, if not a year and a half. Sometimes there's a delayed effect. Like sometimes you also have to like, kind of perfect your craft. So if you really want something, I would not give up. I would keep going, unless you get to like a situation where you're like about to be homeless or something like, right. But as long as like financially it's feasible, yeah, no, I would keep pushing. Sometimes it takes a while to be successful. Like if I gave up within the first 3 months, I'd have nothing. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
I would usually agree, but when it comes to a creative endeavor, especially on something like YouTube, where the algorithm's job is to put things people like in front of them, if you're working for 6 months and you're not seeing any results, you're not doing something not right, and if you're not objective enough to realize that, you probably should do something different.
Well, that's where like hiring someone like you, like a coach, can be really beneficial. That's like someone to point out all the things you're doing incorrectly. I think that would be like that's why I'm a big fan of like coaching for things that you're not that good at. I'm pretty good at YouTube. I'm not perfect at it. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting things that I don't know that I could learn from. Vice versa with comes with dating apps and texting, right? So, yeah, I'm a big fan of like learning from people who are doing something right.
Okay, yeah, that's a good mindset to have. I guess I'm just like my brain just works. I just like to be really efficient and go after hot leads. That's why I like dating apps. That's why I like knowing right away if I'm good at being a YouTuber, right? So I like that hot lead right away. Um, so I could be efficient and go towards what I want as soon as possible.
Hmm. Okay, fair enough. Okay, I know you said that you got to wrap up by now.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this conversation, man. I think this was a really good discussion. I think we covered a lot of interesting topics. You seem like an interesting dude. I'll definitely hit you up about the coaching. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. So, do you want to plug your channel real quick?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. My channels are On Point Fresh, which is about self improvement and aesthetics in general. On Point Viral, if you want to learn how to be a faceless YouTuber or just YouTubing in general. Fresh MMA, if you're interested in MMA. And those are my current three channels. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, for sure, dude. It was a pleasure. Have a good one, man.
You too. Bye.